All right, welcome to this episode of the Change Agent Podcast. I'm your host, Tim McBride. And if you're not familiar with the platform, I create this podcast where I can invite local industry leaders, influencers, agents of change, both here locally in Arizona and nationally, to join me in conversation and share in their stories to speak to hopefully inspire others. I am always excited about all my conversations because it's a platform for me to learn from others and to share stories to our community that people can hopefully resonate with and take something away from to impact their world in some capacity. And every guest I always bring on, I always ask that they make themselves available so that if someone has a question, they can reach out, because I want to create community through this platform. So my guest today is an entrepreneur, he's an influencer, he's someone that I would consider an agent of change on a lot of levels. And I don't really want to lean into his title as the CEO of Avintiv Media here, but more of a serial entrepreneur. This guy has done and experienced a lot, and at a young age. And it's easy to kind of get excited about his success stories, specifically the titles he holds. But I'm the believer that you're not inspired by titles. You may find a little bit of motivation because you can create a picture in your head of what that life might be like. But if you don't know the journey and the struggle, the wins and the losses, you got to celebrate both. You might not really get to appreciate the full picture. So, John Boles, pleasure to have you on my show, my friend.
Thanks for having me, man.
I've been here about 5 years. I've learned a little bit about you and the businesses you started, but I've also been able to learn a lot in the last couple of weeks and just doing some research that you have done and experienced a lot in your life, and you've overcome a lot. And I'd love for this conversation to kind of focus on that journey, that story, and share messages that you think this audience or anyone that consumes this after the fact will really kind of connect with. And I know you're kind of creating you have a coaching consulting business as well. So kind of come at it from that perspective as well. So John,
Perfect.
Please introduce yourself. And if you would, just kind of a little bit about who you are and kind of what got you here to Scottsdale and into some of the positions you're in right now.
Awesome. So appreciate the intro. My name is John Boles. I've been a serial entrepreneur for going on 11 years now. Have built 9 companies of my own, sold a couple of them, burned a couple of them to the ground. Now I own a digital marketing agency that's growing at a pretty good pace.
Nice.
But that's what I'm focused on from the work side of things. But just a little bit about who I am as a person. I'm very deep into reading, personal development, just becoming a better version of yourself every day. So I'm very into meditating, reading, stretching, working out, anything that has a positive energy or a positive vibe. I'm not the 30-something-year-old that you'll find in the nightclub or doing negative type of energy types of things. So it's my life is kind of built around positive energy, good people, and just becoming a better version of yourself.
That's awesome. And as we get into it, I know you, like you said, you invest heavy into education, into bettering yourself through reading. I'd love to get some recommendations, because in the world we're in right now, a lot of people do have some downtime, and it's important that we make positive choices in those moments. And I think reading is one of those. And I know personally that's an area I'm constantly trying to force myself to commit more time to. Just, it's easy to create distractions with, wife and 3 kids and the responsibilities that come with that. And before you know it, you're tired, the TV's on. I'm a huge sports guy, as I'll share, but I can put a game on and be totally consumed and good. But knowledge and information through reading is something very powerful. So kind of pulling back a little bit, I know you got into entrepreneurship at a really young age. What motivated you to kind of take that step early when the other option could have been, college type of thing?
Yeah, and it's funny. I just did an interview with Yahoo yesterday, and they asked the same exact question, so I already know the exact answer. Some entrepreneurs will say that they don't believe that it's an innate ability that you're born with. I remember my mom and dad actually brought this up. Actually, my mom brought it up a couple of months ago, and she's like, I can't believe I didn't see it before, that you were going to be this person. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, I remember when your dad was working, and I took some time off work, and we're driving around town in Racine, Wisconsin, little town, okay. And we would go to construction sites because I like bulldozers and trucks and the Tonka trucks and everything. And she's like, I still remember you pointing and saying, I want to be that. And she's like, the truck driver? And I said, no. She said, oh, the roofer? I said, no. I said, I was 4 or 5 years old. I said, the guy with the clip cord, I want to be the boss. And I said it in like a little baby voice, I want to be the boss.
Nice.
My mom looked back at me like I was crazy, like I didn't know what I was talking about. So I believe that growing up, I knew I was different. My brain processed things differently. And from an academic standpoint, that wasn't a benefit. I didn't thrive in grade school. I didn't thrive in high school. I was a visionary. I was envisioning a better life. I was envisioning the Ferraris and Lamborghinis at 15 years old. Obviously motivations have changed. But as a kid, I just thought differently than everyone else that was in school. Everyone was focused on the tests. They were focused on staying in line and staying in this box. And I was thinking of what's outside the box. I was thinking about what led my teacher to become a teacher. I was thinking of what steps he made. So I was reverse engineering things at a young age, and I didn't know what that was. And entrepreneurship wasn't popular back when I was growing up. Now you have the Gary V's, the Grant Cardones, you have the Lewis Houses, you have all these amazing influencers and entrepreneurs that people look up to. But back in the day, when you were an entrepreneur, you were a failure, college dropout, didn't want a real job, yada, yada, yada. So I got made fun of all throughout, high school or grade school, college for being, wanting to be self-employed and entrepreneur. But the pivotal moment that kind of changed everything for me, which I think the question you're wanting the answer for, is I was about 17 or 18 years old working at Best Buy. And I was closing down my TV department. I was great at sales, closing it down. And I kept thinking every day, like, there's got to be an easier way to close down this damn department. How is it taking me an hour to turn off all the TVs, do this and do that? So I kind of looked at the logistics and how they had it set up. And I was 17 or 18. I went to my closing manager at 10 o'clock at night. And I was like, hey, if you're open to it, I kind of have a better idea for closing things down. I think it'll save on cost. We'll get out of here earlier. If we get out of here earlier, the company saves money. Looks back at me, wouldn't even hear what I had to say, and just basically told me that's above my pay grade, closed down the department for exactly how they told me to.
Wow.
So from that moment forward, all of my visions and everything I wanted to become halted, and it scared the shit out of me on the way home. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have any of that. I'm not going to be who I want to be. I'm not going to be a boss. I'm not going to be all these different things. Because if he's following rules from someone he doesn't ask questions to, and I have to follow his rules, it means that I'm going to be following in this robotic line for the rest of my life. And I didn't want that.
So when I hear you say that, I kind of feel like it touches on an issue that I struggle with, kind of the external validation, I want to call it. Like when I was a child, I look up, I was one of four boys in my family and the youngest, and I was constantly seeking their approval. And as I grew and matured and kind of ventured away from Vancouver and kind of pursued my own dreams, I still found myself seeking approval from external sources. And oftentimes it was from kind of big visions I had for myself in terms of where I saw myself in the future from a professional standpoint. So I saw myself, for example, as a general manager of a professional sports team, and I would seek that for validation for being, I guess, providing self-worth in a sense, because of just limiting beliefs in my own self internally. So when you kind of had that engagement, was it more you didn't get his validation from him, or was it more an insecurity internally that I'm not of enough mature level, I don't have the education to kind of be this entrepreneur? Because you said as a young kid, I want to be the boss. What was that exchange like for you internally and externally?
First I want to say something before I answer that, because I have suffered from exactly what you're talking about, where it's a gap in the present moment to where your goals are, right? Your goals are fixated in the future, and obviously the future never happens and the past never happens. It happens in the present moment. And then it comes to you or it's behind you. But the future doesn't happen, right? It happens in the present moment. So when you're living in today, what is it, November 18th today, and we're trying to set a goal for next year, if there's conflict of you not being happy with where you're currently at to where that future 1 year date is, it creates a negative gap between the two. And it brings the negative energy back to you thinking that you're not good enough because you don't have X, Y, or Z. But for the frustration that I had, it wasn't an insecurity. It wasn't any type of frustration or validation. I just realized I love to create. Like, even if you ask me what some of my goals are now, it's not even revenue focused. It's not money focused. Like, I make a very comfortable living. I want to keep creating. I want to keep building. I want to keep evolving. It's the fuel that just keeps me running at 100 miles an hour. So I think it was more so just seeing it's so corporate and so robotic, and I just didn't agree. It just felt like it just didn't feel right. It wasn't an insecure moment. It was just, I can't believe this guy is like following orders. If there's a clear direction right here and they're not even willing to take it, are they dumb? Are they, so you just start having a little bit of resentment that they're not being smarter than they can be.
Got it.
So maybe that was, me being hard on myself for always having to be performance related. So I could even go down into that route. If I'm as hard as, on myself as I am, and I expect it in other people, what does that say about, what's going on inside of me?
Yeah, usually you're projecting insecurities in yourself when you push that on other people. Absolutely. I can relate on a lot of things just hearing your story, and it took me, I would say, about 10 years of working in the corporate sports professional space, pursuing, the dream to be a Jerry Maguire, and kind of diving in, trying to figure it out for 3 years and just realizing not me, going back to investing in myself in grad school because all the branding and creating, and I got into Red Bull corporate and got to travel the country with them for
Cool.
3 years. And, I always felt for a moment that I was where I was supposed to be, but the title and the relationship that I had within each space never, as I look back, felt right. And it wasn't until I got relocated here and everything stripped away from me that I thought was my purpose, my legacy, my why for everything I had done in the past, that I really started to find some clarity. And it's amazing what you learn from just putting yourself out there. So from that moment on, you just pushed forward. You stepped out and we're going to write your own story. So what was the next step for you after that engagement, that experience? And how did that bring you from Wisconsin to Arizona?
So I know you said you want to spend 30 minutes here, so I won't go into the full story. But essentially,
what are the key bullet points that you
key
want
bullet
people to
points
hear?
is I was a very motivated child to have a better life, right?
Okay.
That led me into being mixed with the wrong crowd, being involved with, illegal, business, selling drugs, things like that at a very early young age. Built up a pretty sizable company doing that illegally. Didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know the harm. I got mixed up with drugs and actually got addicted to oxys and Percocets for about 3 or 4 years. Had to go to rehab. Did a complete 180. Obviously, I'm saying this as if there's no pain in anything. I've gotten way past that.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of pain over those years on what I went through and everything like that. That's why so many people don't have any clue what I've been through to get to where I am. And it's not the typical journey. It's, going through something like that is one of the hardest things anyone will ever go through. So I was on the peak of, I was the top sales at Best Buy. I was crushing it with sales, but I never paid attention in high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
I had a 2.0 or a 2.5 GPA, wasn't getting into D1 school. So I was kind of just sitting there like, okay, I'm never going to make the money I want. So fast forward, started doing that for a couple of years, made over 7 figures doing that at a very young age, had more money than I knew what to do with, learned what drug addiction was for the first time, and I poured all my money down that and basically lost everything.
Wow.
Parents, threatened that if I didn't go to rehab, I was fully, exiled from the family, not just saying that, but like, you do not belong to us anymore, change your last name.
Wow.
So I went to rehab, did a complete 180, asked my dad for 6 months loan for rent money to move out of the city to downtown Milwaukee, which going from a 90,000 per capita city to a 1.7 or 2 million, population. My first job was a bar back. So I went from being like the popular high school, always had money, cool, flashy cars, to drug addict, to rehab, to bankrupt, broke.
Yeah.
And then now I'm cleaning toilets in front of the hottest girls in the city. So it was a very, very big ego check when everyone's partying in nightclubs and everything else. And I'm the guy with the mop and cleaning everything. And I humbled myself. It was the humble slice of pie that I needed. And what it did is it allowed me to take a step back and just be grateful. Wow. Be grateful that I even had a job at $2 an hour. Yeah. And, that's kind of where my career actually got started. So that
I just want to hit the pause button for a second. So when I started this show, it was for people to be vulnerable like you just were. And, that's not always easy, especially as guys. I think in conversation, it's easy to kind of keep it pretty surface level. And we haven't actually physically met or really had any conversation up until now, other than some exchange through technology. So I appreciate you just being so honest right off the bat, because that's why I started that. This is what this platform is about, because it's not about me learning from you necessarily, because I absolutely will, but for people to hear this stuff, because life isn't easy in a lot of ways, and it can look great in like the digital world that we are, where we're so consumed with social media and the different channels. Like perfection is constantly shoved at us, and it crushes us in so many ways, because if we don't have that, we think less of ourselves, right? So when we can see a picture and see a relationship with someone, but know their story, then it's so much more authentic. It's so much more real. And people be so much more just, I think, optimistic about what can come from that.
Well, and so many people that have heard, I did a podcast where there's, X amount of millions of downloads, and everyone that reached out on Instagram thought that I've been telling the story for 10 years. I didn't tell my story about drug addiction until the end of 2018.
Wow.
So it's 2020. So if you think about, I've been clean 11 years now, February. So think about it, 10, 11 years, 8 years of that was running from that guy.
Wow.
8 years of that was, like I said, I was a bar back. I then moved to promotions and, nightclub promoter and owning nightclubs and restaurants and things like that. My success grew very quickly.
Okay.
And the ego inside of me, the scared little boy that, oh my gosh, I'm finally hitting success. I'm finally making the money that I knew I was going to make. What if they find out about who I used to be? What if they find out I sold drugs? What if they found out I was a drug addict and had to go to rehab? What if they found out I dropped out of college? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I was in college at that moment, but I was so afraid of what they would think of me based on my own insecurities and me feeling ashamed, because my family wanted to brush underneath the rug and, not really tell too many people. They were embarrassed about it. I can relate. But I ran for 8 years. I made a lot of money through those 8 years, and I spent just as much money living this flashy lifestyle, buying new cars, dating models, doing the cool guy thing instead of being comfortable in my skin and saving and thank God I turned it around and now I'm living a complete different lifestyle.
Yeah.
But I was that guy that always had to keep one-upping himself because he was so embarrassed of who he used to be.
Wow. And it could have been easier for you, and I could be totally off course here, but when you change cities, you change environments, you change cultures, you change social circles, it could have been easy for you just to shut that door and walk away from it and start completely fresh here and never kind of bring that past back up. And I love that you do, because if you don't honor your past and learn from it and understand from it, then it's always going to be there. So when you moved here, was that part of your reason for coming west, to kind of close the door on some of the issues of the back?
No. Obviously everyone knows now what my story is. Yeah. I was pretty big in the nightlife and hospitality industry back in Milwaukee, knew a lot of people, but my personal brand and who I was attached to that. And when I tried to leave that, there was a lot of haters. There was a lot of hate. There was a lot of people, even when I was doing all the stuff in the nightclub scene, if people weren't getting left into the nightclub and my picture's on the side of the club, or it's my party, or they see who's hosting it, I had countless times people just following me to my home. People, trying to see where I lived, like death threats, crazy stuff kept happening. I was in the media. I was on, radio stations. I had press releases, tons of things 10 years ago before there was influencers and all this, and I wasn't ready for it. So what happened is I kept living in that nightlife industry type scene because it was good money. I was good at what I was doing, but I was miserable. I wasn't happy. I didn't like making an income off of people getting messed up or getting drunk or doing drugs or any of that stuff. That wasn't my scene. I was just good at selling an event, selling a party, booking DJs, booking celebrities. That was kind of what I did, but it didn't resonate with who I was as a person.
Didn't fulfill you.
Yeah. So I left. I started a technologies company. And then I started an e-commerce company, and we were gearing towards the fitness industry. And back in Milwaukee at that time, you're either like a bodybuilder, like I'm talking like the old stereotypical bodybuilders, like dark alley steroids, like that type of huge muscle heads, right? Mm-hmm. We were like the clean cut physique guys before physique was around, and we got made fun of a lot. There was death threats. There was a ton of horrible hate. And there was one day that I was walking down shipping, like it was like the first month we started our e-commerce business, and we sold out of one of this clothing item. And I remember walking the boxes out to my car, and I slipped on black ice, and I fell on my back, and all the packages went all over the snow. Yeah. And I pick up the packages, and they're like half are melted, half are crooked. I'm like, there's no way I can scale a company from the Midwest. Like, I didn't have the money to hire a third-party shipping company or a drop shipping company. So we were packaging and shipping all of our own packages. I was like, there's no way in hell that we're going to be able to keep up with, some of our top competitors that are in Miami or LA or warmer climates where they're shooting photography and campaigns every day of every week. And it's, a blizzard here. Everyone's pale. They're overweight. So that's what kind of led us to Arizona.
Got it. So how long you been in the Valley then for?
6 years.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad and stepmom retired here. Well, he did about 7 years ago. So I came out here to help him with the house and a couple of things. And I was like, wow, this is like La La Land. Like the girls, the cars, the real estate, just the lifestyle out here is kind of what sold me. So I went back to my partners and I was like, yo, we're moving in 3 months. And one of them was like, okay. Call him a week later. Asked. I was like, we're moving in 30 days. And I just put a portion of my resources into a condo I just bought, put a bunch of cash into a condo. Obviously, after you do something like that, you're like, you put the rest of your money in your company. I barely had any money left over. And I'm like, okay, I need to sell this condo. Otherwise I'm going to be sleeping out of my damn car. So we all scrounged up as much money as we could and just, left.
It's amazing. And I just kind of hearing you share that, not many people would take those chances, take those risks. And I think there's a lot of fear for the reason on why. Like, what if it doesn't work out? What if I don't make any money? What if my product doesn't work? What there's so many, stories we can create in our own head. Did you have any of those fears, any of those insecurities or limiting beliefs as you kind of continue to kind of push the envelope and or make changes industry-wise or cities?
No, I think the problem that I ran into was more so comparing myself to others. I looked at, some of the other people in my space that had a huge following. Back then I had maybe 10, 15, 20,000 followers on Instagram when Instagram was just getting started. And I was looking at our competitors that had 300,000, 400,000, massive companies. And I was more so fear and limiting beliefs in myself that I'll never be that person.
Got it.
So it was more so, it wasn't a fear of growing the company or I'm not good enough. It was looking at other people and being so focused on not getting to their level that's, analysis by paralysis.
Correct. Yeah.
More so that's kind of what I suffered from.
So when you say that person, I know things have changed for you. You're much more at peace and in touch with who you are and have that level of comfortability that most people would aspire for. What about that person did you connect with or resonate with that would make you make those comparisons?
So, it's funny because I'm friends with all of them now. Like we're actually homies now. They have, once you grind your face off like I did for a number of years and they catch wind of your business and your brand and who you are and they start seeing you year over year, there's a mutual level of respect that we have. But it was more so just the, influencers, I think, is a played out term now, compared to, I'm talking 3, 4, 5 years ago when people had big followings and fitness just got started. These guys had, they lived in LA, Santa Monica. They had access to the most beautiful girls on Instagram, the biggest followings, beaches as photo shoots, cool cars. Like they had all the resources set up in front of them.
Yeah.
And we were a couple years late to the game. So it was more so, comparison like that.
Got it. And I like that you said it because influencer, anyone can kind of claim that on any level. And it's one thing when I made the jump and completely pivoted and left kind of the sports world, which, was my kind of North Star my entire career for a lot of reasons. But when I pivoted, I got into real estate and I basically said, no way, there's 45,000. I'm not a realtor. I kept associating my value to the title, which is absolutely the wrong approach to take. But when I got into it, I learned real quick how just ambiguous a lot of the terminology was and how useless a lot of it was. So like when I hear influencer now, I agree with you. It's like, it's saturated.
Yeah. It's like, what are you influencing?
It doesn't even mean. It's like when I could have day one put number one realtor on my business card at Scottsdale. And there's no value to that. There's no substance to that. And no one, if I gave you my card day one, you wouldn't go, can you prove to me you're the number one realtor in Scottsdale? No, you would never challenge it. So it's all these self-serving type of tactics that really don't actually move you forward. So I love just kind of hearing the growth and the changes you've taken. One thing I've heard in that, because you said you grinded hard for about 9 years. I don't think people understand it. It's a journey, right? And something I've been learning a lot over my years, and I learned in starting my own company, and it failed. Probably the best thing that ever happened to me is patient endurance, right? I think you just hit it on the nail. 9 years of grinding and people watching, right? I think that's what people don't typically understand is that people are watching what you're doing. They're watching your work ethic, your character, how you perform, how you communicate, the relationships you build, the products you create, the integrity of the product. And if you keep being consistent in that, the returns are going to be incredible, much more than you could ever have imagined. Yeah. Would you agree? And if so, a few examples of that?
Yeah, I would even say, grit and tenacity are kind of the two keywords that I focused on that got me to where I am today, because, what you just explained hit the nail on the head. And so many people watch Instagram and they think that it's, I call it the 10-year overnight success. People look at Instagram and they're thinking, wow, he's living the life, or what an asshole he's living the life. Because there's a lot of haters out there that can't believe in themselves, so they want to pass shade and things like that.
Yeah.
But what people don't understand, and I'll kind of segue around the question, what people don't understand is how many relationships you go through because you have to be so focused on your mission. How many Thanksgivings you missed, how many Christmases you missed, how many nights out with your friends or on the weekends you missed. There were 9 straight years that I worked 100 hours a week. When I built our e-commerce company that I exited from, thankfully, the first year almost killed me. I built the company almost staying up 2 days in a row off fat burners so I could have the energy. And I remember my partners came to the warehouse one night where we were getting our our shirts printed at because we couldn't afford a warehouse. The warehouse was my living room of the condo that I just bought.
Wow.
And I remember after a month of being in there was no circulation of the vents. So if you think of a 30,000 square foot printing factory, you're smelling paint fumes every day.
Yeah.
So I remember the first boxes that went out with our company, Modus Apparel. It was probably like -10 outside because it was in the winter. And I remember coughing in my glove and there was blood there.
Whoa.
And I didn't notice it until I touched the package because I had gloves on, because like winter gloves, like snowboard gloves.
Yeah.
And I started packaging it up and I was like, wow, there's blood on my hand. I wasn't sleeping, horrible dreams. I messed my body up. Since then I've been hospitalized 5 or 6 times just due to stress, overworking.
Seriously?
Yeah, for shingles,
Wow.
acute pancreatitis, stomach ulcers, to the point where during shingles, I think I was 24 or 25, and he's like, what do you do for work? Or like, explain your lifestyle to me. And I told him, and he's like, you got to stop.
Yeah.
He's like, get a 9 to 5, go back to school. You're going to kill yourself. That's almost the same thing as being like, running back in the NFL and them telling you your bone's never going to heal right. You can never run again.
Yeah.
So it's like at that moment, I knew I had to start working smarter versus harder. And now I'm finally at the point where I maybe work 50, 80 hours a week. I'm never doing 90 hours or 100 hours anymore, because once you mature and you grow and you evolve and you see how to actually scale a 7, 8, 9-figure brand, you can't do it by yourself. You have to have an entire team. And then when you have an entire team, they need an entire team, and you keep scaling and growing. So I think tenacity and grit are the 2 keywords that have gotten me to where I am today. Because if you think of how traumatic a journey can be or how exciting it can be, you have to have the tenacity and grit to play the long game.
Okay.
If people are, with how much shit I've gone through with people hating and just bad things that happened back in Milwaukee before I moved here, like people would have quit. They would have white flag, left and right.
Especially
so
nowadays, right?
100%. Everything has bumper lanes, and every person wins now. Get a trophy. So
as a former athlete, but someone that just appreciates sport and what it represents on so many levels, the fact that everyone gets a ribbon is and with little kids now starting to get into that space, I really hope I don't have to experience that, because I'll be the dad being like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And I feel like I read somewhere in your bio, and I apologize if I get it wrong, but you said it's not that it's that everyone gets a chance to play that matters. And I think that's a great statement, because if everyone's given an opportunity, then whoever performs, whoever excels, should get recognized, right? But I think right now we live in a world too where not everyone gets that chance. And when I got into real estate, I saw the potential to be so much more transformational and transactional. And it's been 3 years, and I've got some really big visions that are going to help hopefully disrupt the industry on a lot of levels this coming year and beyond, both locally and around the country. And the whole idea is to give back and to inject a little bit of hope, or give someone a little bit of an opportunity, because there is a divide, and I've been blessed in my life to have a lot of these opportunities available to me. You got to work and prove yourself through them and earn them, but some people don't get those chances. And a lot of these nonprofits that I partner with are giving people those hopes. So I want to keep kind of investing in those, because it's, that people need a chance, but not everyone needs to be gifted, a certificate or an award.
No,
all the time.
and I come from Racine, Wisconsin. Like it's 90% ghetto. Lower level income, less privileged. And if I can come from there and amount to, and I don't come from a wealthy family by any means. And my biggest thing is you are the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So if you're hanging out with friends that are playing Xbox all day and eating, Puffets and Cheetos or whatever, junk food, you're going to gain the weight just like they are.
Yeah.
If you're hanging out with successful entrepreneurs, you have a mentor, you're reading these books, and maybe those are your 5 friends, 5 different authors you're hanging out with, you're going to level up. Even, in my 20s, if I was grinding and then I started going out to the clubs in Old Town or doing things like that, I started to see my energy change. I started to see my work ethic go down a little bit. I was sleeping in a little bit later. So everyone in the world has an opportunity. So when people like to play victim, as I was born into this, lower level, lower income family or this or that, I hate to say it, I was worse than that. I was homeless for a couple weeks, if not month in high school, had nowhere to go. There's always something you can do to better yourself. There's bookstores that sell books for 99 cents. There's so many different, free learning out there. It's people are so stuck in playing victim that The world owes them something. The government owes them something. I'm not happy with what's going on in politics and with COVID and wearing masks and all this stuff going on. But do you see me rolling around in bed worrying about the election or that I have to wear a mask? No, I'm thinking of strategies and how I can better my family, how I can provide for my team better, how I can win for my clients. And it's a mentality of unleashing the beast inside of you versus playing victim and just crying.
Yeah. And I love that you literally just said that, because I had this quote that I wrote down that I wanted to share based off just what I've witnessed from the far, through your story, through online. And it's John Maxwell wrote, "The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, and the leader adjusts the sails."
I love that.
And it's so relevant, not just to each of our journeys, but just the world we live in right now, right? You have a choice every single day. We're all dealing with hardships. We're all dealing with navigating this new world, personally and professionally. But if you don't adjust the sails to this new normal, it's to the point of like death almost. Like people are going to self-destruct and go down some pretty dark holes where there may not be an opportunity to get back out of. And it's the mindset you choose to take. And, everyone's going to go through it and experience it differently. I understand that, but you got to find ways to adjust, understand the environment, pivot, be flex, whatever it is. And then understand too, this is not going away, right?
Yeah.
It will eventually, calm down and become a part of just our day to day, but the world before is not coming back in a sense, right? So the way you just said that, I'm not sitting still, I'm not staying in bed. Like it's easy to kind of convince yourself to do that, but it takes a strong will to kind of keep stepping up and keep trying to better yourself or better your situation a little bit every day.
I'm a big believer in the world brings you exactly what you need.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
The world didn't happen to me. I went through drug addiction for a reason. I went through divorce at a very, young age for a reason. I went through all of these traumatic experiences for a reason. Even now, this year hasn't been easy for me by any means. And what I had to do is I had to get so centered and so in a meditative state, just know who I am away from the cars, the business, the employees, the personal brand, whatever you want to label me as. I had to strip all of it away. And I had to realize who I was at the core. Because everyone is reactive right now. They're reacting to the weather, reacting to politics, reacting to everything and complaining about it. Yeah. What I realize is if my energy is clean, my energy is positive, I'm a good person, I'm doing good in the world, and I feel good about myself every day, and I keep it going for a couple of days, a new client lands in our lap. Yeah. Or my stocks go up 40, my stocks I read were at, a 44% gain this year. I'm like, yes. Yeah. So it's like, but if I have a bad day, I'm like, shit, we lost how much today? So the world brings you exactly what you need, not what you want. And if you're not grateful for the level that you're currently at, why is the world going to bring you to an advanced level in the game? Life and success to me is like a video game. My buddy Josh gave me this analogy years ago. Life is like a video game. You can't just get to level 10 by pressing a button. You have to go through the level and, achieve whatever you're trying to achieve to get better armor for level 2 and then a better weapon for level 3. There's levels to this game and sometimes you get knocked down, but it's you getting back up and finishing it. So many people 100%. Get knocked down and play victim and they want everyone to have a sob story for them versus wiping their tears, getting back up, putting the paint underneath their eyes and going back out to war. Because life isn't easy. I don't care what anyone says out there. Any entrepreneur who says business is easy, make a couple $1 million easy, like all these, slick and greasy ads you see. Yeah. I call bullshit all day.
Same here.
I've been growing businesses for 11 years now. Have scaled over 300 successful brands in my life. The shit is not easy. So it makes me sick with how many people are trying to sell these courses and all these different things of get rich quick schemes, and it's giving false hope to the high school kids, to the college kids out there of how much work it actually takes to achieve these cars or companies or impact or charitable donations. Like it doesn't just land in your lap. No.
And just to piggyback on that, I completely agree. Like the world, you get what you put out in a sense, but also the world won't allow you, and I'm from a faith standpoint, there's preparation involved, right? Like you're not just going to achieve success because you got to earn it and you got to work towards it. You got to go through experiences for a lot of this stuff, I think, to come to fruition. So even though, I have a pastor book I read, and the guy was cleaning the floors, and he was a pastor and he wanted to take on, T.D. Jakes is his name. He's pretty worldly renowned. And this book was pretty powerful because he wanted to be the pastor. He's like, I should be up there. I should be speaking. Now he's speaking nationally. But first he had to go through the experience of cleaning the bathrooms, of locking up at night and doing all the little tasks. And he's like, I look back now because if I took that role, I stepped into it without the experience I had prior, I would have failed miserably because I wasn't ready. So we got to look at our experiences as preparation in a lot of ways too. Like, what does this moment mean for me today, and what could it potentially mean for the vision I have for my future, right?
So many people are playing the short game.
Yeah, it's so right.
It's and I'm at fault for it too, right? I set these aspirations, goals that we want to do this and hit this, and I have to slow down a little bit. Like, it's okay if we don't. Like, we're still making an impact. We're growing. Things are great, but sometimes I stop. Because I'm 32 going on 55 in my head, right? When you do, like, I've been doing this for so long where I feel like I'm going on 50 or 60 years old, right? I'm an old soul. So when you feel that way, you're like, shit, I only have 10 years of grinding left. I'll have a wife and kids and I can't do this or do that. So I kind of have to, it's I call it the little bitch inside you, like the little ego. You kind of have to put it in check to reel back in, to know, like, hey, stay on course, but be present. Stop living in the future. Stop living in the past. Just focus on today and enjoy the journey today. Because if you can't enjoy the journey today, tomorrow, this week, the goal, you're not going to hit it. And even if you do, there's so many goals I set in the past that I finally hit them. And when I became authentic and vulnerable and did all the coaching and seminars and masterminds, then I hit all the goals that I previously thought I wasn't good enough for. I was like, oh, I just got verified. Cool. Okay. Whatever. Yeah. I just got this press release. Oh, awesome. Grateful. Awesome. Yeah. I don't allow success or awards or features or cool things to change my mood or who I am or my feelings, because it's the same thing as not allowing failures to bring me down. They're all amazing, right? Failures are amazing. Success is amazing, but it doesn't change my state of mind. I might get energetic and a little bit excited, but I don't allow it to feed my ego. Yeah. Because if you feed your ego, then it goes into the future again, and you're thinking of all these other things versus just enjoying the moment.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, being in the real estate business, it's like, I agree with the ego thing so much, because I feel like I'm in competition with other egos all the time. And you'll never see me post any of my wins, because my job is to be relational with my clients. And that is building, authentic friendship, as I like to say. And to be a friend of mine, or to create friendships, you got to be able to connect on a personal level. So everything I share is about my life and things that I'm doing outside of, a 3-bedroom home in the middle in Central Scottsdale that's worth X amount of dollars. Like, I think to me that's agents competing with each other.
These are the comps.
Look how successful I am. You're not successful. Like, for me, the successful part of the deal is the relationship that I made with that person, the stories that they shared with me, and how I could pour into their families, or whatever that looked like per the client. But ego is such a big thing, and a lot of it is these external values. Cars, as you mentioned a few times. Like, if I take a photo of myself in front of a car, I don't think that's going to help clients want to work with me. Right? I think that shows, look at my success. I value success.
And it sucks because I'm a car guy. So it's like, is this my ego, or is this me being a car guy? Like, some people love architecture. Some people love this. I love cars. So
there's nothing wrong with it.
I delete half the car posts I do because I'm like, okay, I look like an asshole.
I think cars are awesome. I don't understand what's under the hood at all.
Yeah, but I completely agree. There's a level of being authentic and having relationships versus being so egoic and so ego driven that you're posting and acting a certain way on social media versus who you are in real life.
And if that's authentically you can do it in a way that's real, and people won't be turned off. There's always going to be, obviously, negative, right?
There's some people that can post. I have friends that have the Lambos, the Rolls Royces, the mansions, and they're that type of guy, and it works for them.
It works. 100%.
I couldn't be that guy. Yeah. Some people think they're assholes. Like, I have a good relationship with them, but I couldn't be that guy.
Exactly. I'm
single, boat. Tons of different girls. Like, I'm just not that guy.
Yeah. I'm happy to be married with the 3 kids, living the suburban life.
My mind is already there.
Getting the kids to hockey practice, being Canadian. I want, like, that's my effort. Like, how am I going to get my kid to commit to hockey like I did?
Yeah.
But, I feel like we could chat for a while, because you've just got a lot of information to share and a lot of stories I think people can really connect with and more importantly need to hear in a time where, shit's real and shit's tough, right? And it's going to be that in a lot of ways in life. And I don't think we're, at the finish line anytime soon. We're heading into what you keep hearing in the media, like the dark season, right? Maybe not so much in Arizona because it's sunny and beautiful out, but it's going to be complicated. It's going to be tricky. We got to continue to adjust our sails, as that quote said, and you do that so perfectly. So, and you live in a space where you give back through coaching, right? So as we look to close out, I would love some perspective as a coach right now, how you're managing your clients, kind of the message you're trying to communicate to them through this time to help them personally and professionally. And what are some of the resources you give to them? I know you said reading. So, like, what are some of your favorite books or you've read too as well in this time that's helped you be better, stronger, more confident, more, purpose driven in this kind of day and age that we're operating in.
Perfect. Yeah. So I was obviously a consultant for going on 11 years. I was a business coach for about 2 years, had a very successful business coaching practice, almost, 7-figure business just with the coaching.
Nice.
But at the time, about a year ago, what I started to realize is the coaching that I've been coached on and the success I've had with business, a lot of my clients weren't ready for that type of coaching. They needed personal life coaching. They needed life coaching. They had tons of insecurities, tons of doubt, tons of traumatic experiences from childhood. Without going into detail, I had a female business coaching client one time that confided in me that, she was raped at a young age and no one's been able to help her get through that. And I actually helped her get through that to build a successful company. Wow. So it started to drain my energy so much that when you're filling someone's cup and being present and allowing to be fully there for something like that, it takes away from the business coaching. So I actually closed down the business coaching portion about a year ago. Okay. For the sole fact of I couldn't run the agency and be who I was with them with also filling so many other people's cups, because it was draining me at the end of the day, coaching 3 or 4 people in the day. I still do it with a lot of our clients on a consulting standpoint. Yeah. But with your question, what I would basically, from an agency standpoint, what we've done is a lot of our clients are at, the medium sized business level, larger business level. We do have some, beginners or startups. And these guys are so hungry to grow that they are changing the sale, like you talked about. So we pivoted each of our clients' business models during COVID, where not one of our clients took a decline. Not only did we not take a decline, we actually hired during COVID. So we were able to shave off probably 10 or 15 grand a month in expenses between office and just, fat that we had in the company. Yeah. So the advice I gave clients is do the same thing. Trim off as much fat from your business as possible. Any expenses or software you're not using, any staff that aren't, I hate to say it, that aren't, meeting requirements or doing what you need to do. Like, you need to get rid of anything that's holding you back. And we need to go in this direction 100 miles an hour because the storm's right behind us. Yeah. But if I did have coaching clients, so I'll kind of answer the question. Okay. If I had coaching clients, I would tell them that 2020 wasn't a bad year. This was a year that we all woke up. This was a year that all rattled our cages and got us out of our comfort zone. Everyone has been going in so robotic 9 to 5, or if they're an entrepreneur or whatever they do day to day, everyone has the same route to work. Everyone has the same Starbucks drink. It's a redundant schedule that everyone follows every day. This year, the world rattled our cages like, wait, what happened? Yeah. Like what happens in the movies, this is really going on right now. Yeah. And I hate to say it, it's sad. There are a lot of businesses that had to close down. Mm-hmm. There are a lot of people that have gone bankrupt. There are a lot of people that have died. Mm-hmm. And I have sympathy and empathy for anyone that's going through a hard time. But the way that I look at entrepreneurship or owning a business, I look at it, it's one of the most important roles in the world, because we are bringing the economy in the world future, this is generational, right? Yeah, so absolutely. when I structure a new LLC, I don't look at it like I'm signing on the dotted line. I look at it like I'm cutting my finger and I'm putting blood on the dotted line, that I'll do whatever it takes to make sure that I survive, or I, give the world my best effort. So for anyone that's going through a difficult time, if your business is struggling and failing and it's bleeding money right now, close it down. Lower your expenses, get rid of your flashy car, do whatever you need to do and live a modest lifestyle for a couple months. Yeah. Meditate, read, figure out who you are, because I guarantee you the next company you start, maybe it's a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, maybe you have some debt to pay off. Yeah. That next company is going to make a much bigger impact, and it's going to be way more fulfilling for you, because if your business didn't weather this storm, it wasn't meant to. Mm-hmm. Right. I was in the restaurant industry for a number of years. You're lucky if you profit 32%. Yeah. I got out of the industry because I knew I was never able to live a lifestyle that I wanted to live off 30%, net income. Mm-hmm. I knew I'd have to have 20 restaurants to live, the ultimate life I'd wanted to live. So when people go into business, they need to understand and know what the risks are associated with it. So I think 2020 is the best year I've ever experienced, just because of how much it woke me the hell up. Wow. I even had at the beginning of the year, I made a sizable multiple 6-figure cash investment in an investment fund, a buddy's investment fund. And come to find out in January, the federal government seized the entire fund. So all of our family and friends lost millions of dollars. And they said it was a Ponzi scheme. They said all this stuff. I still don't know what to believe. The media has said a bunch of stuff. Secret Service said a bunch of stuff. And then there's no one's proven anything yet. So all of our money got seized by the government,
Wow.
So I started the year that way, losing, $300,000 gone. My family, my parents losing money, my friends losing money, and then the media trying to throw me in the mud like, we were a part of it or anything like that. Wow. So I started the year 2020 like that. Then COVID hit. Then, people are dying left and right. So this year was a very big wake-up call for me.
Wow.
It humbled the hell out of me, and it allowed me to get to know me on a much deeper level.
That's awesome. Again, thank you for being so honest with all that, because it is challenging to kind of go layer to layer with a lot of this, and you definitely are very open and honest, so I appreciate that. And I like to close out as people that know me know I'm a hat guy. I'm a big hat collector, have been forever, and I collect a specific
with that beautiful hair though.
Yeah, I know. Not so much anymore, right? But I grew up as just a consumer of sport, but I always saw sport as so much more than a platform to entertain. It connected people, it unified people, a platform for hope, gave back through foundations. I saw the Canucks, for example, Vancouver, always in the community giving back, using their platform to do more. And one thing I always loved about sport was the hat, and how symbolic it was, not just for your own selfish identity, but for it recognizes community, recognized team. So I just became just obsessed on some level, because I would buy hats all the time and I would just put them on my walls. Now that I'm married, hats don't exist on walls anymore. They're in boxes, but New Era, I loved what a New Era hat represented. So I've collected them, and I try to incorporate them into a lot of who I am in my businesses and personally as well. So anyone that comes on my show, I created a snapback New Era change agent hat as a way to say
cool.
It's a way to say thank you. So I got a hat here for you as a way to say thank you for who you are, coming on and sharing your story, and hopefully giving back, and hopefully people that hear this and see it, the different channels of content we'll create, we'll find some hope, and they'll hopefully find a way to reach out to you too. So I will close out with the best way for people to contact you, connect with the business, understand the business, whatever it is that you want people to know. We'll make sure that all that information's out there. But the hat represents you as a change agent, someone that's kind of stepping up and being of service to our community, and has a mission and a purpose beyond just the check.
Thank you.
Or
I love
the life experiences. So I got a change agent hat for you. Please enjoy it. You don't have to wear it, but it's just a token of my appreciation. Good, man.
I'm the guy in the gym with the hat on.
Nice.
But mainly Instagram. Facebook messages get overran, so you can find me at JONBOLES. Company is Avintiv Media. We are launching a pretty cool sales program in the next 2 months, where we're basically giving away all of our golden nuggets for entrepreneurs and business owners for free on how to position or repivot their company through COVID, and how to grow for free. There's no hiring us. There's no needed. It's basically opting in, downloading the ebook, and it's all of our gold. And
we'll send all that information out so people have it. So it's Avintiv Media. You guys are downtown, Old Town Scottsdale.
Yep.
Are your doors open? Can people come in and just say,
so we got rid of our office in March,
so
and we're loving every second of it. I was actually nervous, because culture is very big to us. It's not even, we're not revenue focused, we're culture focused and experience focused. So I thought it was going to have a negative effect, and we track everything we do in our agency. So productivity, happiness, everything is, we collect data like crazy, and we actually saw a spike in productivity by almost 40%.
Nice.
Our team was happier, our clients were happier. And what I realized is when you give your team the ability to wake up when they want, go to bed when they want, work throughout the day, they can eat a healthier meal, they can work out during the day, they have more freedom, they put more creativity and more oomph into the projects, versus I have to drive 30 minutes to the office, we have to be in the office all day, I can't go to the gym, I have to go to the gym after work. So it's been the biggest blessing for us this year, but I'm definitely excited, and in probably 2021 or 2022, we'll be building an office space to encompass more people.
That's awesome. I love that. And culture is such a big thing. We can keep going down that. Like one of the experiences, my favorite experience with Red Bull is just the culture I got to experience with them, and how invested they were into that. And that's something I take with me everywhere I go, into building platforms like this, real estate, Homes for Good, all the fun platforms, because culture speaks volumes, and it draws people in and gets you the right people and talent that you want to work with. And
Red Bull's great. I worked with them for 2 years.
They're fun. They will run you into the ground, but it was worth it.
Oh, yeah.
But I really appreciate you coming on, John.
Thanks so
much for taking the time, guys. Please follow what John's doing, Avintiv Media. Please check what they're doing. But more importantly, listen to the story, listen to the journey, and take away what you can, because there's so much power in it. There's so much substance in it. And there's never a straight line to success. So stop focusing on the titles. think of the journey, think of the story, and what you're willing to commit of yourself and your resources. Because if you can't love the journey, the rewards won't be worth it.
What's
at
the
the
point?
end. So thanks, John, for coming on, man.
Thanks for having
Stay
me.
safe, stay healthy, and happy early holidays.
You
my
as
friend.
well. Thanks.